Hello friends, today in this special segment on Indian cricket, let us look at the pace bowlers who would likely be picked for the tour of England, the pace bowling unit. So here let us look at the weaknesses, the strengths, what are the areas they could improve upon, some of the bowlers. So let us start in the reverse order instead of looking at the mainstays or the fulcrums of the pace attack. So first up is Anshul Kamboj versus Akash Deep. So Anshul Kamboj, we have seen in the Ranji Trophy, we have seen in the IPL, is a good line bowler, tends to bowl slightly fuller than some others, makes the batter play from ball one, that is why he can be called as a good line bowler. He may not swing the ball much or seam the ball much, that is a moment of the seam, but it does definitely makes the batter play from ball one, top of off or just outside off. So that is his main strength. Up against him, I would say, is Akashdeep. And the seam bowler doesn't swing much, bases his methods somewhat on Mohammad Shami, though doesn't get the movement that the experienced pace bowler does, and is not as quick as his Bengal teammate. But he has some strengths. Someone is very skiddy. He just move the ball just enough, seam movement. On occasions, it is kind of comes out scrambled, and is very good at going round the wicket left-handers. So is there a weakness? Yes. If you look at how he bowled in Australia, he tended to bowl a lot back of length, good length. Some of them said that he beat the bat a lot, he was unlucky, but if you scratch the outside coating, you will notice that he tended to bowl a little shorter. So that could be one of the reasons why he actually beat the bat a lot. So I would prefer Anshul Kamboj here, just mainly because of the kind of length that he bowls. Yes, if the selectors and the think tank prefer Akash, they take him there. He takes 5 wicket haul in one of the tests. Absolutely fine. I mean, if he's going to take a fifer, then it would most likely come down to him bowling a little fuller than what he has done so far in Australia, or for the matter in the Ranji Test against England or against Bangladesh. So then let us look at Prasidh Krishna, who has obviously been bowling brilliantly in the IPL. Yes, obviously it's a completely different format, but if you look at some of the wickets, at least some of the wickets, it's mainly come down to his test match skills. Obviously hits the deck hard, hits high up on the splice, gets bounce. So that's always been one of his main strengths. He has also shown the ability to swing the ball a little bit in this IPL. One of the wickets, obviously, KL Rahul came through a little bit of late swing, so that is that's an encouraging point for him. He also did it actually against Australia recently before the tour of Australia or the Test series against Australia. Yes, a few question marks have always been there against him. One of them is temperament. When a batter attacks him, he tends to lose the plot a little bit. If the first ball or the second ball of his over goes for a boundary or a six, then he tends to give a lot of runs. But in this IPL, whenever a batter tried to attack him, like when LSG's Eden Markram came down the track and hit him for a six, Prasidh Krishna came back quite well and picked up a couple of wickets. So that is a plus point. Another point is, I think, is a lot of his mechanics, bowling mechanics seem to be working well. He seems to have tightened up a few nuts and bolts of his bowling. So whether it is run up, whether it is loading, whether it's load up or bound, or for the matter landing and follow through, it seems to be in sync. He's enjoying his bowling, and that's a plus point. So if India really want a hit the deck option, one backup hit the deck option to Bumrah, then I think it would be Prasidh. But yes, the think tank have tended to favor Harshit Rana in the recent past, so maybe he could get the nod there. But in my opinion, looking at the kind of form that he's in, especially with how he's been consistently able to bowl the heavy ball, I would go for the former. Then obviously Mohammad Siraj, who also plays for Gujarat Titans in the IPL, and his mechanics and his bowling mechanics, his skills also seem to be in good shape. Yes, he's getting the ball to swing, he's getting that little bit of late away swing. Even his in swing is kind of back. Obviously, he bowls a lot of wobble seam, 3/4 seam, and his control also has been reasonably good. So obviously India would take someone like Mohammad Siraj to England. Yes, is there a weakness or something that goes against him? Maybe it is to do with lack of channel bowling. It's not just related to Siraj. Maybe a lot of Indian bowlers tend to struggle to do that. Obviously, up front you tend to bowl top of off or just outside off, but in Sena conditions, after maybe 25-30 overs or on those lines, you would shift your line a little more and do a lot more of channel bowling, and that is something that a lot of Indian pacers, including Siraj, struggle. But definitely he would go to England. One of the surprise picks I would look at is Arshdeep Singh. Yes, he has had a problem with his in swinger in the recent past. We saw it during the short tour that England made to India to play limited overs games. He was struggling a little bit with his in swinger. Even the Champions Trophy, what I noted in Dubai when he was practicing, it was quite evident that he was struggling with his in swinger. Actually, just before the Champions Trophy semi-final between India and Australia, he was practicing the in-swinger then too, though he was not in that particular 11. So that tells you he also knows that he somewhere lost the in-swinger to the right-hander. But I would look at him because I have a hunch, this is more of a hunch, that he can trouble England's middle order, especially Root and Harry Brook. We saw that in the old test last year when Vishwa Fernando got Root and Harry Brook LBW. So if Arshdeep Singh can get that in swinger going alongside the left arm angle, he might come into play in one of the tests against England as England's middle order. So obviously that leaves Mohammad Shami and Bumrah. Mohammad Shami, yes, is an experienced bowler, but his record in England is not great. It's not good actually. Yes, what could have gone wrong for Shami? Maybe he tends to bowl a lot on the good length spot. That's worked for him in South Africa, especially at Highveld, where the pitches tend to crack up in the second innings. And if you keep hitting those, the wisdom of experience, he's been a great servant for Indian cricket. But he has had a problem or two in England, where, as you know, his record in England isn't great, actually isn't good at all. So what could have been the problems for Mohammad Shami in the previous tours, during the previous tours of England? One of the reasons could be he tends to bowl a little too short. He bowls mostly around the good length spot, back of a length spot, occasionally goes fuller. It kind of works in South Africa, especially at the Highveld, where you get cracks, where you get indentations. So if you keep hitting that good length spot, then you will definitely trouble the batters in those conditions. But in England, perhaps he has to go a little fuller. And also, as we know, in England, the wobble ball has really played a key role for many English bowlers, even bowlers from other Sena nations. And that is something where I guess the Indian pace bowlers are not so good at. Yes, Siraj uses it, Shardul Thakur has used it in the past. To an extent, Bumrah also tries it, but it's not a skill where India are really good at. And Mohammad Shami definitely doesn't use it because it depends mostly on keeping the seam upright, trying to get a little bit of conventional swing, and then obviously movement off the deck. And when the ball gets old, is very good at contrast swing. Still, having said that, he's a very experienced bowler, and India will take him to England. And also, Shami will be pretty happy with this, especially his first over in the game against Chennai Super Kings, where he seemed to have found that little bit of nip that was missing after his comeback from the serious injury. So that leaves Jasprit Bumrah. Obviously, there's nothing much to talk about him. He's a great bowler. He's someone who has all the skills. Having said that, maybe during the early part of the IPL, especially in a couple of games, one against Delhi Capitals, he seemed to be muscling through a little bit, and his release point was a little wider. Maybe his head was falling across a little bit, as experts call it as lateral flexion. But as we saw in the last game that he played against Lucknow Super Giants, that he seemed to be in very good rhythm. For a bowler like Bumrah, obviously, it takes only a few games to return to form. So that is about it, about the Indian pace bowlers that I would pick. I expect India to pick a jumbo jet kind of squad for the tour of England. So that is why I've looked at 6 pace bowlers instead of 5. And yes, I still have to look at the pace bowling all-rounder, which I would look at it in the next episode or the next segment of Indian cricket. Thank you.